And there we go. We should be recording now. So as a welcome, it is now time for the audience participation segment of the presentation. There's a few of those throughout this, so bear with me. Can you tell me a little bit about what you already do with video day to day, and whether or not there's anything in particular you're hoping to learn?
I'll go first. I don't deal with video every day, which is, I think, why I'm looking for some tips and advice. We record a lot of quick search demonstrations and tutorials through video lately. I've also used it for longer lecture style videos and kind of as a different model of delivering instruction or typical library instruction. And then we're also using it beyond the demonstrations to try to get some like quick search kind of concepts out there and things like that.
That's great. Lee, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Diane and I are in the same department, so.
A lot of the same things.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I will have what I have prepared for you. And then if you've got questions and thoughts, I'm more than happy to take a deeper dive. A lot of this is things you can do right now that are going to make it better. There will be things I suggest that might be like, if you're really invested, you can buy something. But the goal is for this to be what you can do in the space you're in to improve things. So our first thing we're going to do is I have an example for you that I recorded that I would like you to watch and be ready to tell me what you think of it. I think I forgot to check share sound. So one moment while I do a new share and share my content. Let me know right away if you can hear it, and if not, I will fix the problem, but I think we're good now. So, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm going to be your instructor for this semester. I want to take a minute and let you have a chance to know me and get a sense of what we're going to be doing this semester. So, hi, I have a PowerPoint to show you. Hang on, where's the button? Share screen. Oh, that was the wrong screen. Hang on. Okay, trying this again. Okay. There we go. So I'm Sarah Burton. Yep. I'm gonna make this go. So I'm the online faculty training and development specialist at Northampton. I attended Temple University and Lehigh University. I live in Allentown. These are my pets, Magnus and Merle and Taco, and my husband, his name is Chris, and he's great. So now you know about me, and I look forward to getting to know you throughout the semester. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening. Wait, how do I end this? Okay, so for a little bit of context, that is something I try to do. That kind of video is something when I teach, I try to do at the beginning of the semester to give students the opportunity to know me. So that's the content we had here. Let me find what I'm looking for here. There we are. So what are your thoughts about that? We have watched that video.
So the thing that I liked about it was that it was very personable and kind of relatable. It showed that you were a real person and that you kind of had the same situation going on as some of your students might be having. So that was good about it. There were definitely some things though that weren't so great about it. And I'm sure it was hard for you to watch it back. Even though you purposely made it that way.
So what did I do wrong?
Lee, I don't want to steal your thunder. So
Oh, well, I was just thinking it seemed a little bit unprepared, like you weren't sure what you were about to say, and or where to click.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of distractions, Sarah. I wanted to know what was in that glass that you had. I saw a picture back there, so you seemed almost timid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether you were nervous or just totally unprepared.
Yeah, I had camera angle and like background.
Right. The information was great, but you didn't sound too enthusiastic.
And the one thing I noticed too is the size of like your text on your presentation and kind of like
That one, because I didn't do that one on purpose, that may have a little bit of the video was smaller on the slide I was sharing, but that is also a good thing. Anything else you want to bring up? Good, excellent. So let's see how many of the, oh, Diane?
I just editing. I don't know if we talked about that one.
It could have used some edits. So let me jump back to the presentation here. And let's see what I've managed to fix. Hello and welcome to our first day of class. My name is Sarah and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. Before we get started on, the course material stuff, I want to take just a few minutes to introduce myself so that you can get to know me and we can start off the semester on the right foot. So here we go. Well, this is me, obviously, and here I am, your instructor. A little bit of background. I am also the online faculty training and development specialist here at Northampton. So I work with faculty in terms of getting trainings going for Blackboard and other educational technology tools, coordinate those trainings and that sort of thing. I attended Temple University for my undergraduate degree, which is actually in film, and Lehigh University for my master's degree, which is in educational technology and design. I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania, so probably near many of you. And I, most importantly, live with these three furry, wonderful creatures, Magnus, Merle, and Taco, who are the lights of my life and are remarkably, well, they get along very well. So that's a big deal. You'll probably hear more about them as the semester goes. Slightly less importantly, but still high on the list, is my husband, Chris. You will also probably hear about him. And, well, that's me. I am, in my spare time, an artist and cosplayer and play a lot of video games. So I am always here to talk about that. I look forward to getting to know you throughout the semester and, well, look forward to doing class as well. Thank you for listening, and here's to a great semester. That was example number 2. I'd say that we managed to fix most of the things you pointed out. In particular, I cleaned up the background, although I decided to let the cat exist. And you can see that I still live there. So you talked a bit about the things being personable in the original. And, I still clearly live in this space. This is still my dining room. So you can still see, I've got my art in the background. Maybe we could say it's a little distracting, but at the same time, we are all working from home. We are not in a studio space. Mm-hmm. If you're looking closely, you might realize that that's Legend of Zelda behind me, which creates that personable space. Yeah, we've got the cat. So none of those are a bad thing. It is a problem when it becomes a distraction. The cocktail glass I got out specifically for the bad one, the pitcher. That was just fun to pull all the things out of my closet and see what I could do there. I sat up straight. I was not all slouched back. One of the things I did try to do for the bad one that I couldn't quite mess with my setup enough to do badly was to try to unplug a microphone to focus on that, because sound quality is a big part of some of our video. If someone can't hear you or the audio is scratchy, that is something that people in general are increasingly sensitive to. And that was all still pretty much the same material, unedited. A little bit of confidence and a little bit of attention to what you're doing can go a long way. So moving along. We have created a lot of this list together, but some things to keep in mind are your lighting. One thing that you may have noticed in the first video was as I leaned back, the front of my, like half of my face was in shadow, the other half was overexposed because of the window. Working from home, we don't always have a ton of, we may be in a spot where it's hard to get light, but by paying attention to your lighting, making it as even as possible, a soft light if possible, rather than a harsh direct sunlight or like an overhead bright light can help a lot, particularly in how you feel on camera. As long as you're visible, it may not matter as much to students, but if I feel like I'm well lit, I'm more likely to feel good about how I'm presented on camera. This is a purely optional thing, but if I move my camera a little bit here, whoops, I think it'll be easier to pick up the other thing. All right. I was not prepared to pick that up. I thought about it in the moment. There are ring lights you can get that are about 20 bucks, and they're meant for social media kind of things. Most of them have a spot to clip your phone to take selfies and do, if you're in Gen Z, you're taking TikToks and things like that. But I have one here that clips to my desk, and it gives me this softer, even light right in front of me. That I can turn on day or night to get the right kind of light. Even though I'm facing a window, depending on the time of day, sometimes I get direct sunlight, sometimes I don't, and it's inconsistent and often hard. If you don't want to go out and spend money, because you shouldn't need to, moving a lamp so that it's hitting you properly. I have one to the side that if my side light isn't on because it's the sun, I have a side light I can turn on over here. I have the overhead light, and just sort of experiment with the lighting in your area. Audio is something else to pay attention to. You could have this plugged in awkwardly, but you could have a big, crazy microphone. This is one that I actually just had around, so I use it. Fiddle around my camera. But a lot of the built-in webcam microphones are just fine as long as you're speaking clearly and into them. Or if you have a headset that has a microphone, that can help too. My main thought here is to do a test run and record your voice speaking normally and see how it sounds. I've played around with this setup a little bit. I've used a headset. I've used just the microphone on my camera. I've used this fancy thing that I have, and found that there's a balance that works pretty well. I found I really like this Blue Yeti microphone, but the one on my camera is just fine. Depending on the space you're in, you may find that you have trouble with echo, which by adding things around like pillows and blankets, even off screen to help absorb some of that sound can help. Or something as simple as making sure your microphone is a single directional thing. So for clarity, some microphones pick up sound from all around them, whereas some pick up sound in a sort of cone shape right in front of them. So if you are interested in making a purchase, that's something to be aware of. But also the headsets often have that single directional microphone right by your face, which helps. Framing is something else to pay attention to. You don't want to be way too close to your camera. If I'm looming here in front of you and you can see up my nose, this is uncomfortable to learn from me for a while. Ideally, you want your camera to be at eye level or a little bit higher. We don't want to be taking the grandparent style selfies that are, from way down here, and you can see, the bottom half of your face. Making sure that you're taking up the majority of the frame without being too close, so that, if I'm way back here, I blend into my background and I'm hard to focus on. Yes, Diane. Hi.
I have a particular issue with this because I'm on a laptop, so I have to sit a little bit closer to it. I've been thinking about purchasing a wireless keyboard so that I can still have access to do my demonstration stuff. Do you have any suggestions other than purchasing something to kind of help with this if your device isn't great for this?
So this is probably one of the areas that it's not going to be the end of the world. This is best practice of, if you can give yourself a nice framing, you should. You have done very well with what you are working with. You are not uncomfortably close. You're closer, but you're not looming on me. My example of looming was limited a little bit by the fact that I have a desk in the way. If you are able to back up a bit and reach out, great. If you want a wireless keyboard, great. I don't have a non-additional hardware solution in this moment, but I will think about it. But I don't look at your camera and feel like you are uncomfortably close. Let's see, eye contact. It is easy to forget to look at your camera or near your camera. I've seen solutions such as putting googly eyes on your webcam or by your webcam. It's also a practice thing, is to get used to looking at the webcam versus if you have everybody down here, it's easy to look down here. I tend to move my Zoom people up nearer to my webcam so that I am inclined to look there. And then the other area that is a good thing to keep in mind is the length of your video. We are working with college students who are online a lot, and depending on what you're doing, it can be very easy to create something that is so long that that no one's retaining anything anymore. My biggest advice here is, if you're going over 10-15 minutes, to try to find a way to chunk your content so that either we're splitting it into multiple videos broken up in logical points, or we are pausing, listening, and instead doing something for a few minutes, as simple as, hey, stop and think about this, or pause the video and give this a try. Because if we think about just sitting and watching someone talking to a camera, or just watching someone present off a PowerPoint for an hour, it gets rough to absorb what's being said. I try to stop the video every so often and have students engage with the material, either a short, sometimes it's a short quiz where they'll ask 1 or 2 multiple choice questions that if they were paying any attention, they'll know. But just that act of thinking back to the material and doing something with it can make a big difference. If you need to be going long, adding pause points to follow along with you is a way to do it. Asking questions that they could stop and think and answer is another way to go about that. That one can be the hardest one to get your head around, because it feels like, oh, I'm creating so many videos, it's hard to, we don't want to overwhelm students, and that's true. But even the act of clicking to the next video can break up that monotony. Not to say that anyone's videos are monotonous, but the single act of watching it, stopping, engaging, moving on, gives you that. Let's see, we are at 11:22. So I just have a short pre-recording checklist that is based very much on what we've just talked about. But make sure your camera is on. Make sure your microphone is plugged in. I say this as someone who has totally not been recording for 10, 15 minutes and then realized they didn't plug their microphone in. I would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about. Double check your materials, make sure that everything you want open is open. Check your shot, make sure you don't have anything totally wild in your background. Make sure you've put away your cocktail glass, which I do assure you was empty the whole time. I pulled it out of the cabinet and put it back. And then relax, smile, you've got this. I'll let you in on a secret. You know my better one that I showed you at the end? That was probably the 5th take. I wanted to do it all in one take because this is not the editing quick tip. Next week, I am running one on basic editing that'll be an hour-long presentation, but focused on like the built-in Windows 10 editor and the iMovie on a Mac, as well as we may explore 1 or 2 like internet-based things as well. But it's okay to relax. It's okay to need to reshoot. If you make a small mistake, it's okay to just say, hang on, I'm going to reset, or to correct yourself and move forward. We're all people. We're all doing this. There's always chaos going around. There was, in fact, a 5-month-old puppy running around my feet while I was trying to do both of those videos. So nobody has to know what's going on outside your camera frame. Nobody. So I'm going to stop sharing so that you can see a little bit more of me. And in the last 5 minutes or so, are there any questions you have that we didn't get to?
I have one. So
Okay.
I rely on scripts a lot. So it can be difficult sometimes for me to keep eye contact. I use Screencast-O-Matic. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but like I find it a little disorienting the way the recorder is set up and, you know, screen stuff. Do you have any advice for when you're, you know, kind of reading off a script, being able to do kind of the 2 things at once, or like demoing and also like having a script?
Practice is going to be the big one. Getting used, if you have a relatively decent idea what you want to say in your script, and I tend to break my script up into sort of 2 lines by 2 lines so that I can glance down, say, okay, I'm going to talk about this and this next. Return to eye contact or return to my demo and say it and go back and forth. It took me a while to get used to that. Over time, it gets more natural. I wish I had a quick and easy solution besides buy a teleprompter, which I have considered. But practice and getting the more takes you do, you'll get more familiar with what you're going to say, and it is easier to flow through it more naturally. For a longer video, it's not always practical to do it 3 or 4 times, but practice.
I don't think I have anything else. That was all my questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Lee, do you have anything else for me?
No, I didn't have anything, you know, specific to try to get to the bottom of. I was just looking for some tips and tricks.
Excellent. Well, then thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. We have, as I mentioned previously, that we have the editing one coming up next Thursday at 11 and 6:30. So if that is something you're interested in, I would be more than happy to tell you some things about editing. And the focus is on built-in products. Actually, I can probably stop recording and when I'm talking about the future things.